तुम मुझे कहते हो मैं बड़ी हसीन जिंदगी जीता हूँ, पर हर रात अपने जख्मों पे मैं खुद ही मरहम लगाता हूँ। बेफिक्र बेपरवाह हर किस्म के नाम दिए हैं, जिन्होंने मेरी राह नहीं चुनी है उन्होंने हर कदम पर ताने सुनाए हैं। उन सब से भी मैं मुस्कुरा कर ही बात करता हूँ, और हर रात अपने जख्मों पे मैं खुद ही मरहम लगाता हूँ। क्यों किसी और को मेरी काबिलियत साबित मुझे करनी पड़ेगी? क्या आज़ाद हूँ मैं, फिर भी कुछ जंजीरें मुझे पहननी पड़ेगी। हर सुबह मैं बेखौफ रहने का मंसूबा बनाता हूँ, फिर हर रात अपने ज़ख्मों पे मैं खुद ही मरहम लगाता हूँ। हालांकि हर शाम मैं बस खुशियों के सुर गुनगुनाता हूँ, लौट के हर रात वापस अपने ज़ख्मों पे मैं खुद ही मरहम लगाता हूँ। Hi all, welcome to another episode of A Night Before with Shrungar. And today I have such a pleasure welcoming my guest. You know, when we talk about passion and when we talk about profession, there are a lot of times that those two don't match with each other. But my today's guest took it to another level. He thought he wanted to pursue his passion and turn it into a profession. And that's why he is here today on A Night Before with Shrungar. Please welcome Neel Trivedi. Hi Neel, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Pulling through.
Great.
Yeah.
Man. Welcome to A Night Before.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I hope you're having a good time.
I am trying to.
Cool.
Feeling better after I've come here because of the pleasant weather.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So fluffy. Look at the clouds.
Yeah. It's actually very beautiful. It's actually perfect for what we are going to talk about.
Oh yes, exactly. And I'm hoping for the rainbow to pop up here again, like it did yesterday. Did you see it?
Let's hope. Let's not hold our hopes too high.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Neel, I know that you are a musician. You're a guitarist, to be precise.
Yeah.
And you have been doing it for quite a long time. Right? And so let's just barge on to the basic question, right? How did music happen to you? Like, when did it all start, and when did you realize it?
Well, I've been associated with music since as far back as my memory goes. Like, because my parents, they're not musicians, but they've always had this fondness for music, and I was brought up, with a lot of music happening around me. We had instruments and stuff like that, although they could not play all of them. They were like jack of them all. But like that. And even when they like bought toys for me, it was always like some musical instruments, on which I could play like little ditties and stuff like that. And all the schools that I studied from, they were, especially St. Mary's School, they were not just fixated on, academics and, scoring marks and all of those things, at least as long as I was in primary school, then later on they get a little more, as you keep, nearing boards, they get us to be a little more
Towards the academy.
Yeah, a little more, they be a little strict about the academics. So yeah, that's where I got, exposed to a lot of music. And that's where, my teachers, especially, they found potential in me. And they got me started on that, and they, because at that age, you're grasping power and your capacity and capability is like too much. So compared to, like it sort of keeps waning off is what I know as you keep growing older. So yeah, like at that point I was taught a lot of things which are very necessary, like ear training and matching the pitch. And yeah, I started out as a singer. And I still sing, but I'm like, except for the classical training that I got from my school teachers, I have not taken any other professional singing training, which is not the case with guitar. So yeah, so that helped quite a lot. And then I kept on, see, the thing is, I've always had this thing for, like exploring, like even right now, I'm more into rock and metal.
Okay.
But that's not the only thing. When it comes to listening, I keep like exploring different genres, different artists. So even when I was young, now it's easier with internet and everything. But back in the day, I remember as a kid, like when most of my friends and colleagues would spend a lot of time at, you know, toy shop, cherry picking all the favorite toys, all the toys that they would want to play with. I'd spend more time at, you know, the CD shop, the one that we've had since ages, Ronak.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, so I cannot be very like precise about when exactly it started happening. I can tell you that about guitar, you know, because that happened way after, like after high school.
Okay.
No, when I was in high school. So I can tell you how exactly it happened, and you know what sort of got me super latched on towards the instrument and guitar players and rock and all of those things. But if it's music in general, then I don't know. I'll have to. Yeah, it was like I'm trying to jog back down on the memory lane, and I don't see me not digging music or me not being associated with music ever. So yeah, if that helps.
So since you're already talking about the schools, and you know, I know that you left your education midway, or that's what we can say. Right? For some it's very early, for some it's midway.
Midway,
right?
Yeah. So, it was 11th grade.
11th grade.
Yeah.
Right. So how did that happen? Like why did you feel that you had to stop taking education, like proper education, and then, you know, pursue music? Why did you feel that?
Well, it was so like a lot of musicians, they have been through the same phase.
Okay.
And for most of them, there's just this one reason, that they're not being able to spend enough time for the thing that they have this passion and fondness or whatever for, you know. And yes, it was that for me, of course, you know, because, and another thing is because over here, the kind of music that I have always been into, there's not much of a scope for you to learn. Like we've always had like classical teachers, and you know, if you're talking about guitar, then, you know, teachers would teach you to play Bollywood songs and, you know, things like that. But I wanted to get into like rock, metal and jazz, and wanted to explore Western classical and a lot of other things. So then I figured that I'll have to do it all by myself, and I had to like read a lot of books, and I had to like teach myself. So that obviously would have taken a lot of my time, you know, and it still does, you know. So then I was not being able to like sort of, you know, balance between things. So there was one reason, that I was not getting enough time, you know, which is the reason for like pretty much everybody who takes this step. But there were like other couple of reasons too, which has nothing to do with music. Like for example, I did not have anything against academics or knowing more things, learning and exploring new things, you know. Like we have nothing against education, but the way I like, you know, in primary school there was not much of a case, but you know, especially after I passed my 10th grade, and the way I had to study for the 10th grade sort of worked as that eye-opener for me, where I got my aha moment, because I would want to like and I'm not like, you know, dissing on, you know, the system, and this is not one of those things, you know. I mean, yeah, it has a little bit of like lambasting and all of those things in it, but I'm not trying to, you know, like target it on that. Yeah, but the thing is, I would want to spend a lot of time, you know, studying and exploring. Like for example, like nanotechnology, or like maybe there's a poem by like some poet, and I like it, you know, and I latch on to it very hard, and I'm like, all right, I would want to dig this particular subject or an artist or whatever, you know, or a poet or whatever, a little more. And I wouldn't get time for that, because if you do that, then you're not going to be able to finish the course, you know. And I get why they keep it that way, because at that point nobody is sure, like, all right, this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to, like, you know, specialize in, you know. So at that point they're giving you a little bit of peripheral knowledge about everything, and then if you remember liking something, and then later on when you're doing like a degree, you can pick that and study it a little more. But at that point I did not have that savvy or whatever. I just got too irked and, you know, irritated with the whole thing, and I'm like, I'm not being able to do anything properly. I'm not being able to do music. I'm not being able to, like, if I find something interesting, I'm not being able to spend enough time, learning about it, studying it, or like looking things up on the internet. So it was those things. I felt like I would end up being like a jack of all, And then there were like a lot of other reasons, that's because I got into like philosophy, and I would like read philosophers, and as corny as it may sound, but so that was sort of changing my model of reality, how I viewed things, because of all the conditioning that had happened over the years by my parents and religion and teachers. It was all crumbling down. It's kind of like you're falling down and you just want to break the fall by like holding on to something, but it's not happening, and people around you are just like watching you fall, and you just cannot know. There's nobody to help you. So my model of reality was like sort of sort of
perspective was like going into pieces.
Yeah, exactly. So that was happening, and I was like, I used to stay like very baffled, about things, and I would not get my answers. And even if I would get my answers from someone, they would state those things as like claims and stuff like that, and they won't like being questioned. This included all my teachers, my parents, and a lot of people. And it's not that I'm like blaming it on them or anything, but it's just that this discombobulation that I was sort of scampering into made me feel like I should take a break at least. And the only comfort that I would get was from playing music, where I would get a little break from this, or where I will get a different angle from which I would get to experience my reality, because that's what music sort of turned into for me. Music, like, I think for me, and I'm not saying this is what it is for everyone, or it has to be or whatever. Like, if you don't have this approach, then your approach is like bullshit or whatever. So like, it's like music sort of manipulates you into feeling the emotions in a way that the artist would want us to feel, or the music itself would want us to experience. Like, if I make a song, I'm letting you peep into my experience of feeling that emotion. So I started, like reading about these rock stars, and how they had like this very quirky, and for some of them it was eccentric way of experiencing reality. And there was the only comfort that I was getting. And then I would like read philosophers, and so there's this another thing that was not all that pleasant that happened to me, because I got so I'm just giving you like a just a hint. Yeah, just a little bit of a tinge, like a little bit of a hint about what exactly was going on, but there was way more to it. So yeah, I'm just like briefing you. So I had to take therapy and stuff like that, because I started hallucinating. I got very upset with the world around me, with me not getting my answers, and me sometimes getting disgusted by all the answers that I wanted, that my parents or my teachers or the priests or whosoever would give me. And I started getting very disgusted with everything around me. It was very disturbing. So then I would start fantasizing what I would want my world and everybody to be like, which on the surface doesn't seem that bad. It's kind of cute. But then I took it to a point where it got toxic for me, and I started hallucinating. So yes, it was also that I could not handle, being in crowds, being around people, So many things, like I've forgotten most of those things, and I'm like trying to recall them all as you've brought it up, because it's been so long since anybody's asked me these things, and I didn't know this is what we were going to talk about, so I didn't come prepared. But yeah, I think it was a lot of things, and it's not just because school kept me from giving more time to practice music and do all the other things.
So it was not that just education, you had to leave education for the music.
Oh,
it was actually learning that you wanted to achieve from everything around you, that actually motivated you, that rather than just focusing on academics, you can focus on a lot of other learnings around the world.
Yeah. And that sort of helped me with selling the whole idea to my parents too, because like when you tell your parents, and over here musicians are not very nicely reputed.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly. So that's what the next question I was about
Oh,
to
okay.
ask, right?
All right.
So when you've mentioned it, right? So when you had already decided in your mind that you want to pursue music, or probably you want to take a break from the education, right? So I know it's not easy, like especially in India.
And Gujarat.
In Gujarat, right? But I think that's probably true for everyone across the world, right? When a child walks up to their parents and say that I want to take a break, or I don't want to pursue education anymore.
Very unusual
Right,
and
very
unconventional.
unusual. Right. So I don't want to pursue education anymore. So how was that process like before you finally approach your parents? Do you remember the night before that?
Oh yes.
Do you remember
I do.
Night or the nights before that? Because I'm sure, sure that this would not be one day thing. This would have been a long journey.
Process,
But do you remember those nights that you had to go through? Those emotions, those lot of sometimes what we do is actually enact the whole thing in our mind, like what I'll say to them, and then they'll say to me, and then the whole thing goes again and again. Right?
Yes, I do remember. Yes.
So can you tell about those nights?
Yes, nights and the dumps I took, because that's where we get our free space to really brood over things and ruminate. So but so considering what a dimwit doolally I was, and I had the brains of an adult ant, it's now when I think about it, it's kind of impressive. I'm trying to not make it sound very like blustering or boastful, but I actually kept thinking about it rather than just introducing the idea to my parents, just like smacking it, just smearing it on their face, like, hey, here's the shit that you'll have to deal with now. So it was not just that. I actually kept thinking about it. I actually planned it out, and I've never really thought about it. And even when I was doing it, it was it was happening more than me doing it. So I was aiding whatever that was happening, but it was not like consciously doing it, I guess, So like you said, it was like a long journey, it took time. So before that, I had to figure it out for myself, what I wanted to do, or how badly I wanted this, or is it just some like temporary infatuation kind of a thing that I have for music, or it's like I was sure that I was ready to grow old with it.
You had to be sure for yourself.
I had to be sure for myself, yes. So it was that. So once I figured that, I am very sure, I started thinking about how to tell my parents. I would just introduce the whole, I knew a couple of people who were doing music, full time. I would take their examples, I would tell them how well they were doing, career-wise, financially, by all means. By the way, that coffee was really great.
Thank you.
So by all means, I would tell them, I'd just like keep giving them hints, and I'll see how they react to that before I plan my next move. So yes, I was very, what's the word? Very
prepping them.
Yeah, I was very. It happened in like a more of a methodological way. And I kept creating the method as I went along, I guess. Yeah, but yes, it was not abrupt, or it was definitely very well thought out. It was not mindlessly done. So I would tell them that I would just walk them through all the struggles that I had been facing, and they would see that I used to read a lot.
Okay.
So then, like their first concern is, like in Gujarati we say, "Chogro uthyar bani jase," that he'll be like this gone kid.
Yeah, he'll be a gone case.
Yeah. So that was the concern. Like, all right, he wants. Mostly, maybe when kids make that demand, it's for that. They don't want to study and they want to just hang out with their friends and just waste their life away and leisuring and luxuriating.
Probably they're in a bad company. Or
because of the influences. So they did try their best to figure that out. If it's that or something else. But they would see. Like they would. I mean, that's the first thing. I'm pretty sure they thought, because of all the conversations that we were having after the whole thing happened. But then there was this another contradicting thing that was happening. Was like I would never willfully sit down at one place and spend long hours like studying or like dedicatedly practice something.
Okay.
So although I was not hanging out, I was hardly going outside my house, there was like a kind of a introverted phase, that I had to sort of go through in my life, and not in a pleasant way, it was.
Probably it was just because you were figuring in your mind.
Yeah.
Like, what to do about it.
So they saw all that all right, he's reading a lot, he's really, for the first time, because my dad, he's into reading, and throughout the whole primary school phase, he kept selling the whole idea of, oh, you should read and it's going to help you and it's going to give you like different angles for you to view take a look at life from. So he was always after me for like reading, and I never took any interest in it, until I don't know, I think it started out with those comics and Famous Five and Secret Seven and all of those things, and then I don't know when the switch happened. Then I read a couple of self-help books, which I'm not a big fan of at this point. But self-help books, in most cases, they lead you to like philosophy, and because that's where they're getting their ideas from, and they would mention names of philosophers, and they would want to look them up. Like, all right, that guy seems like a walking gold mine or whatever. Let's see what he's all about. So anyway, I think I'm drifting a lot, right? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, because I'm. You know what? I'm reminiscing. Like literally,
No, but that's what the idea is. So I want you to reminisce, but specifically here the night before.
Yeah.
Right.
So they saw all of
the whole journey of very much important.
So they saw all of those things, and they were like, maybe it's not what we have been, worried about. They were trepidatious or tenterhooks. Especially, they were very like apprehensive about the whole thing. Like, what if we just give it a quick yes, and he would realize, he would curse us in the future that, oh, I wish my parents would have stopped me from doing that, So, they were playing the part right, and I was trying to play my part right too at the same time. So yeah, at nights, I would just, it was a lot of things, because my day would go, trying to balance shit, like I said, going to school and classes and hating it and like trying to like it, and, trying to change my perspective about it, and just turning it around for me to at least, find it bearable, because that's how bad it got, So, like I said, I'm just briefing you, but it actually went very bad at one point. So yeah, it was a can of worms. So so that's what I would do at nights, I would actually like ruminate, I would meditate over these things, and I won't be able to sleep, and then when it would get too bad, I'll just pick my guitar and start playing it, because that was my comfort. That's where I was getting my comfort from, and then I would read more and try and find answers, That's where I figured there's another thing very interesting. This is a little off track, but if you want,
sure.
About philosophy. If you even take religion as a philosophy, the problem with philosophy is, because you have studied so much, it's just, philosophy is trying to, and religion too, like it's trying to answer questions that we won't be able to, conduct experiments. Like science, whatever it would do, we can be sure about it, Those questions, there's no way for us to, find the right answer for.
There are no experiments for that.
Yeah, there are no experiments for that, It might make sense for a while until you find some other, viewpoint from, see all of those things from. So yeah. So that's what I sort of started, there was like a turmoil that I got caught into, a whirlpool, So it would just take you closer to, the closest it can get. You would never reach there, because at this point we are just, not capable of figuring those things out, So maybe might evolve into all of those things. But anyway, so yeah, those questions were not being, I would get my temporary comfort, from something that I would read, from some philosopher or whosoever, like, all right, this is what it is, But then, things would work out differently. I'm like, oh no, it's not even that, So yeah, so like the problem is they present things as claims, and those things are not true. They don't even know. They're not very sure. They're kind of dubious too, but I don't know. They're too delusional to figure that out. So yeah, that's another thing that I brought this thing up because that's another thing that used to happen. That all the things that I was brooding over, all the things that I was so desperately, searching answers for, I was not getting any answers for those things, and it was just, it was like knackering me. Yeah.
It was like jumping from one perspective that you figure out to be a reality to another perspective which turns out to be a reality.
Yeah, exactly.
And from there on and on and on.
On and on, yes. And in the end I figured that there's no way you're going to figure out what happens to you after you die. There's no way for you to figure. I mean, you can find something that you can believe in that would make sense, or that would make the whole idea of death or whatever kind of, not so scary or whatever, but you cannot be sure about it. For you to figure, you have to die,
Yeah.
But still, that doesn't mean that all of those things are futile, trying to answer those questions. You spend your life figuring all of those things out while enjoying being here, So like then I develop, it's kind of cheesy to say this and kind of pompous too, but my own philosophy, like I just stirred it all. I'm like, all right, this makes sense from this religion or from this philosopher. All that is bullshit, or at least to me it seems like this. To me it seems like that. And then it was like all of those things, and then I developed my own idea about how to go about life and things like that to sort of get me going, because as interesting and kind of fascinating as it would sound as a story now while I'm telling this to you, if it does, but it was not a pleasant thing to go through, I think it was I'm not sure, but I think that's what people who have existential crisis, they go through, and what it leads to. So it was kind of like that, like I was just so fed up with figuring things out, and presenting it as claims is one of the wrongest things they do, because you buy that, like, all right, they're so confidently telling you that, oh, there is a heaven, and you waste your whole life, and you getting your doubts, but you're too far sunk into believing those things that you don't even bother to question even once, because then the whole time you spend believing in all of those things would feel like a waste of time. So yeah, it was all of those things. I'm doing it all over again. Yeah.
That's okay. But now let me jump on to the next question. So when you told your parents, and the day when they agreed upon your idea, that, okay, do what you want to.
Yeah.
You're free. You're a free bird, right? And figure out what you want to do.
Oh yeah.
How relaxed were you?
Not really. Because
really.
Although I kept preparing them, and I kept thinking about how I should be doing it. I'd show I give them examples, or I'd show clips from movies where the guy wants to,
pursue his dream.
Yeah, exactly. Like 3 Idiots. That guy, I've forgotten the character's name, but he wanted to. Farhan, yeah. Great. So he wanted to get into wildlife photography or something like that. And then, the father was like this hard nut, as far as I remember, I think. Yeah. So it was a long time ago. And then, if something happened and the father had the aha moment, like, all right, let him do what he wants. So I'd show all of those things, and it was like I was sort of like tricking them into it, because I did not have any other way, So yeah, so sorry, what was the question?
Why were you not relaxed?
Yeah, because although I did all of those things, it still did not go as planned. Because when I finally put the ultimatum, they were like, oh my God, what the hell are you saying? And not that, they reprimanded me, scolded me or anything, but just seeing the reaction that they gave, and it was something that, it was like, they didn't, take the anger, or I don't even think they got angry. They didn't take the shit out on me, but it was more like, it hit them like a heartbreak, just to see, them go through that was kind of disheartening. Like, oh my, it was like they got thunderbolted with something, got jolted, So, yeah.
And then we as a child, feel like, what did we do?
Oh yes, yeah.
That guilt.
So yeah, they didn't take it well, and I don't blame them. It's okay. So that happened, and things went to, because they could not handle the idea of me thinking in that direction. So it got so bad that they were like, all right, I don't want to hear about it. You can't go to your guitar classes or whatever, you know. And my mom cut the strings with a scissor, and because she got a shock, you know. And I guess it's got more to do with how I told them to, because I was going like total gonzo with all the other things, you know. So I guess although I planned it out, because I don't remember the exact moment, you know, but I remember it being something like that, you know. So yeah, that was sort of very harsh to go through.
No, but after that, approved of you.
That
was relaxing.
Yes. You know, I was blooming. I blossomed into this another happy being, you know, that I hadn't been for like, you know, the last couple of years before that happened. So, yeah.
That was the basic idea, because you know, when you get that thing that you had been, you know, fighting for a long, maybe with your
so
parents,
badly hankering
society,
after. Yeah.
right? The nirvana, the calmness that you get inside you.
Yes.
You've achieved.
Oh, I remember, and
that's like a milestone.
Yeah. There's another thing that happened. So when I told them that, you know, this is what I want to do, and when they freaked out, I couldn't handle that either. And I, you know, at one point it occurred to me that they know better, you know, and I used to look up to, I still do, you know. So I'm like, all right, I don't think it's a good idea either, maybe. And there's no way I'd be able to, because they'll be taking care of the finances and they'll be giving the approval, and, you know, I don't want to do it like this. I'd much rather not do it than to do it in a shitty way by upsetting people. And I don't want to start a new thing, you know. I don't want to, you know, like flourish into this by upsetting a lot of people, and then I won't be able to do it. So I'm like, I'd much rather do this, you know. I'd much rather do what they want me to do, and maybe if I get a chance. I was thinking of quitting music, because I was like in that obdurate, you know, I was very headstrong about either I'm not doing it I'm not taking it any other way, you know. I'm only
either I'm taking the whole, or I'm not taking
No, I'm not taking the bits, you know. So I'm like, fuck it, I don't want to do it, you know. I'll just do the academics, and maybe later on if I get a chance. I don't like, it's kind of like you love someone, and for some reason, you know, you spend so many years loving them, and for some reason you cannot be together with them, then you cannot just be their fuck buddy. That just won't happen, you know. You've already, you know, bloomed into something that you cannot go back from, you know. So it was kind of like that. So I could not take it as a hobby, either profession, passion, like I wanted it to be my life, or, you know, nothing. I would have wanted to just distance myself from it. So yeah, coming back to, I don't know why I'm drifting so much, because like I said, it's nostalgic. I'm like reminiscing.
So that's what the idea is, so, you know, to get into that nostalgia.
So yeah, coming back to the point. So when I told them, I'm like, all right, I don't want to do it. And at the same night, I don't know what I ate, you know, but my tummy went all gippy. All right, and I got the runs, and all of a sudden I was ailing so bad. I got feverish and all VDCD, and coincidentally, I mean, later on we figured there was typhoid. So then it was not that I was devastating, you know, and that's why it happened, you know. Like right when I made up my mind is when I started feeling bad.
Okay.
You know, maybe that would have still made it worse, or whatever that I was going through physically, you know, because now my mood was all not in style. But coincidentally, that's exactly when it happened, or luckily, fortunately for me, because my parents thought that, oh, I've been devastating, you know, because I mean, they were still, you know, the reason why they rejected the whole idea was still, again, because they cared so much, and they thought that I did not know what I was talking about. I was on knife, and I don't know, they didn't know that where I had picked the whole idea from, and they did not trust the source or whatever, you know. And like, yeah, it was mostly all the rock stars from, you know, the 60s, you know, when everybody was like a rebel and they were doing a lot of drugs and this and that. So that's another thing that they're worried about. All right. So yeah, I mean, they still meant well. They were still the well-wishers, you know. So they saw that I was suffering, so I'm like, all right, we'd much rather, you know, have you around, and, you know, have you, you know, doing all the things that you love, you know, rather than losing you like this, you know, because they thought that the fever and all of those things were because of that, and I played along, and I thought that it was because of that too, and the next day I was like so debilitated I could hardly move my finger, as if I was on heroin or something, and then I had to take up tests, and then we figured there was typhoid. But by the time we figured that, my parents were already sold, and they had already told me like, all right,
do what you
do what. And that's when I told them that it's not that I don't want to study or pursue education or whatever. I'll take up an external course and finish my 12th grade, and then I'll take up some other course, or maybe I'll do a course on music. Maybe over here we don't have much of a scope, but I'll go out, and then we had that proper talk, which was much needed. Then we did the needful, because earlier there was no scope for that, because they just freaked out, and I freaked out seeing them freak out. So it was this big fucking freaking out that we were getting all sucked into. So it's a weird way to put it. You might want to cut that out. It's okay. So then I was recovering from typhoid, and I was getting all the good news. Like my father was like, all right, what would you want, and what kind of guitar should we buy you? And so like I was recovering from two things, and it felt so relieving and relaxing, and it's beyond words.
Okay.
So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
That perfectly sums up.
Yeah.
Now, so Neel, you have been if not playing for about like what, 8-10 years.
I've been. How long have I been playing my guitar for? Is that what you asked? Yeah. So I took my first guitar lesson when I was almost about to finish my 8th grade.
It's been how long?
So 8th grade was in 2008. Yeah, that's how it was
like
for me.
More than a decade.
Yeah, more than a decade. But like I said, I've learned a lot of things wrong, and it took a lot of relearning them in the right way, because the kind of things that I wanted to learn and wanted to do, there was, like I said, not much of a scope for me to do that. But still I had to get my basics, or at least how to hold things, which also turned out to be wrong, from a couple of people that I learned it from. I don't blame it on them. They did not have better teachers either, or whatever, So anyway, let's not get into all of that.
Yeah. So my question is, so what are you currently working on? So are you working on any album?
Yes, I am. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Yeah. So I've been working on getting better as a teacher, because that's another thing that I started doing that when I was 15. Bishop's house.
Yeah.
That's the first place I started teaching it, and and again I've grown this attachment towards my students, and just the whole idea teaching. So yeah, I'm working on getting better as a teacher, getting better as a player. I still take lessons, online lessons. So I'm always looking forward to learn more, and I think I'd hate if that ever stops, because I've seen a lot of musicians, they get to a point and they just don't stop learning, and I don't know. So I would much rather prefer being a student at 60 than to be a master at 6. Anyway, so that's another thing that I'm doing, and the album, yes. So I'm working on this conceptual album called Alas, which kind of includes all of these things that we talked about, like not that it's on this, not that it's directly giving the background music to these stories or whatever, but yeah, I mean, a lot of things have sort of carried along with me even from that phase. So yeah, it's like a conceptual album which is built around this, again, another philosophy, that I had developed from. It's not my own, like I didn't invent it. It's like more of a discovery, like I said, the whole stirring thing, and making it into this concoction, that I could take in. So yeah, that's the album that I'm working on. And then the other idea I told you, not to get too attached to your philosophy, because it could totally be wrong. So then there is this another album that I've started working on very recently, which is countering the philosophy that Alas is about. So I don't want to get too biased, and I wouldn't want my audience to get that biased about the philosophy, but it's an instrumental album.
Okay.
So, and I have uploaded one of the songs, because I'm going to keep releasing singles. Now I don't need to wait till the whole thing gets completed, yeah, and then release the whole thing as an album on the internet. I'm going to keep releasing the singles, and then I'll also release the album. I don't know if it's a good idea, but that's how I'm thinking of going about.
It's like building up your audience.
Yes, that's what it is.
Right. So we've almost come to the end. So last one question. So tell me one thing that you did perfectly right during the whole course, and one thing or one mistake that you feel you should have avoided.
You might want to finish your coffee because this is going to take time for me.
Long.
I've never really thought about it. Like, there's so many mistakes I made.
Like one-liners. We need one-liners.
The way I... Alright, so
What are you telling? One mistake or one
thing that I did right, it's kind of going to be like diplomatic or whatever, I don't know. But you're not going to get very satisfied with this answer is what I have a feeling. But it's how I've made a lot of mistakes. So that I won't be able to name one, okay? So I've made a lot of mistakes. I've done a lot of things.
But like top-notch mistake.
Wrong.
Do you think? What do you think of it? Like you worked with someone, or you got into a
fight or
band, or probably, but then didn't work out. Probably, you took a gig which was not, suitable for you.
Drugs. Yeah, and it's nothing crazy. I'm kind of a pussy when it comes to drugs, Like there was this one time I ate. I had been doing weed and all of those things since high school, Now I'm completely clean, by the way, and I'm not just saying it because of the camera.
Okay.
But I've stopped enjoying the highs, and I'm like, screw it, If it's naturally happening, then I'd much rather, take the opportunity and get over it, because someday I will have to. But then it would be like me going to a rehab or whatever. But I said drugs because I ate, what bhangoli is?
Yeah.
So it was like mixed with something, and it gave me a very bad high. Okay, well, a very bad trip, And I would keep flipping back. I would keep getting paranoid, and believe me or not, because I was already like, mentally not very stable because of all the things that had been happening. And on top of that, I did this, and it sort of intensified the whole thing. And it took me about 8 to 9 months to get out of that, that phase, if not just the trip. And some things have still, stayed along. Yeah, because of that, I'm kind of, I get panicky very easily. I'm like more of I like overthink stuff, So yeah, a lot of things, and it has helped me too, So yeah, I mean, it's got its pros and cons. So yeah. But yes, the whole thing was it's if it wouldn't have happened, then I would have been way better at what I do and being who I am, than I am. And even that's kind of argumented, because then if the butterfly effect is true, then it all worked out for good. Then I could have. So I don't know. So yeah, but to answer your question and to keep it short and simple, I would say drugs.
Yeah, don't do drugs.
Yeah, don't do drugs. Kids, please don't
Okay.
go down the
And
same way.
one thing you perfectly did right.
Figuring out that I'm wrong, and not feeling like, when people figure out that they are wrong, or they suck at things, or they're shitty at doing something or whatever, they cannot handle that. They cannot handle them being that bad at something. So they would choose to delude themselves, like, no, I'm fine, I'm good, or I don't want to get better, and then there's nothing better than this, So, or they're lazy maybe, they don't want to work on it, So, like with drugs, I said, and with all the other things, or with, I could have totally, turned into this, big time, religious enthusiast if I would have, like I said about the philosophy and religion and all of those things, like if I would have found my comfort in some answers that I got from some religion or philosopher, and I would have been too cocky about it, and that wouldn't be, they wouldn't have turned out good, So yeah, I guess the way how quickly I would figure out that I'm wrong, and how I would be able to handle it, that, oh, I'm wrong, oh my God, I wasted my life, I wasted so much of my time, you know, it would never be that. I'm like, thank God I figured that I'm wrong. Thank God that I figured that that's not something to, you know, very strongly believe in, you know, or that's not how to play it, you know. So the way I would, you know, how quickly I would figure out, and how quickly I would want to, and how immediately I would want to change that. No matter how bad it gets, you know, no matter how dark and dingy your cloud gets, there's still going to be like this silver line that's going to be there at the edge. Yeah, and if you see that, then very soon you'll be able to turn that into your reality, you know. So yeah, that's another thing. Like, no matter how shitty and bad I feel, there's a silver lining to that too. Like, hey, it's like not knowing a word, or, you know, saying a word like in a wrong way, pronouncing it wrong, and you getting embarrassed, and that's very hard. But that's where you figured that that's not how to say it, and it's all going to change. You know, if you ask the next person, then all right, then how should I pronounce it? You know, and he will tell you, he or she will tell you, you know, and then from then on, you won't be making the same mistake. And sometimes people, they argue like, no, that's how I say it, that's my accent, or, you know, that's how people from Africa say it, or whatever. So I would never do that. You know, I'd look forward to make mistakes, because I'm very, you know, like insecure about fucking up, you know. So I would want to know if I'm doing that, so that I would not fuck up.
True.
From then on. So I think that's I don't know if that answers your question.
We can sum it up like, you know, accepting the reality of being false, and then, you know, probably learning better out of it.
Yeah, my friend, you're very good at keeping things concise. I need to learn that from you, because
Perfect.
Yeah, that's.
So I think we are done with the questions. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This was fun. This was a lot of fun.
We
Thank
are
you.
going to be now moving on to the next section.
All right. Ooh.
Neel, so
Yeah.
our next section is gonna be a game round, right? Where because you are already into music, already into band,
Yeah.
we're not gonna be making
Okay.
you work physically, but
Alright,
yeah,
yeah.
it is gonna be about identify the band.
Identifying the band.
Yeah,
Like, you'll
So
play a song.
No. I'm gonna tell you a couple of lines related to that particular band, like a story or an incident.
Fact, yeah.
Right, a fact. Right, and let's see if you know your bands very well. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's gonna be a mix of Indian or you know, bands from around the world, but a couple of them are Indians, couple of them are outside India. So I hope.
I hope I do well too. What do I get if I?
You get just a congratulations.
And I want another cup of coffee.
I'll make you that.
That's perfect. All right.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
down.
Cool. So let's start with the first one. So this one is not from India. This band's logo consists of the band's star signs. 2 Leos, 1 Virgo, 1 Cancer for their band members. 2 Leos, 1 Virgo, 1 Cancer for their band members. It was designed by one of their lead vocalists, and one of their very famous albums is A Night at the Opera.
Night at the Opera. I know Led Zeppelin had those signs, but I'm not sure if they were star signs. A Night at the Opera, oh my god, she's so dumb right now. Yeah, is it Led Zeppelin?
Yeah, but the band?
Yeah.
Which, no, Led Zeppelin.
No, not Led Zeppelin. Okay.
So the lead vocalist is like very famous. If I tell you the name, you'll tell the band probably.
No, wait. He's very famous.
Yeah, sadly he died of AIDS.
Queen.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
The Queen
Yeah.
logo. That
Oh
is
yeah, they
made
have
of
those
the-
things. Yeah.
So that's made of the star signs
Stars.
of all the 4 members.
Oh, okay.
The 4
Shit, I
members
feel.
then, not now.
I'm a disgrace to rock.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is an Indian band, considered to be one of the top rock bands of India nowadays. The band has 4 members, out of which 3 are demotivated engineers who jumped into music. Their very famous "Aoge Tum Kabhi" song was adapted in movie Angry Indian Goddesses.
Oh, I've hardly ever dug Indian bands, that much. Except for like a couple of their songs, so I don't know much about that. I don't keep myself updated with what's going on.
Have you heard the song Aoge Tum Kabhi?
No. Is it? Sounds like something that. This is like now it's all about gestitude. It sounds like something that Indian Ocean or Agni would have made. Is it? No.
It's the Local Train.
Local Train. Oh, I know of them, but I've hardly heard anything by them.
Check them out. They are decent.
Yeah. I remember. I don't know why I did not, dig them further. I remember one of my friends showing me who attended the concert live, and I liked. I mean, I
personally love another song of theirs, which is Chulo.
Chulo. I think that was the one that he played for me.
Yeah.
Like he's jumping around and there's some crazy strumming going on. Yeah, and he's playing all suspended chords, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I normally don't like that style, that subgenre of rock, but I still, remembered having a good time watching the performance. So yeah.
Moving on. So this band has a special fan base, and their fans are called the Blue Army. Surprisingly, this Blue Army once threw a cherry bomb on the band during a live show.
Cherry bomb, Blue Army.
Haven't you heard about the Blue Army?
Oh.
This band is not from India, by the way.
This is not from India. Oh my God.
And it's considered to be one of the top 10 rock bands for
Blue
ever.
Army. Does the band have blue in the name?
No.
Yeah. Do they play blues?
Nah.
All right,
So
I give up.
Aerosmith.
Aerosmith. I don't. Oh my God. Steven Tyler, Joe Perry. Oh my God. I listened. There was this one phase in my life where I'd spend pretty much my whole day with them. Because I was a big time Steven Tyler fan. But I don't think I looked them up and I read things about them. I did not know these facts.
So yeah, their fans are called the Blue Army.
Blue Army. Any specific reason?
I haven't digged much into that. But
Yeah. All right. Aerosmith. I remember that.
cool.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So now,
And another thing is, these days I've been listening to, and I've been drifting more towards jazz and Western classical. So I can blame it on that maybe. It's still not.
But-
It's not that I knew it once and now I've forgotten about it because now I'm doing. I don't know why I said that, but I don't know. I feel so shitty about not
That's
knowing
okay,
these
that's
things
okay.
about my favorite
Yeah.
bands. Yeah.
So now another one. This Indian band suffered a major loss in May 1995 when it lost two of its prominent performers on the eve of recording their second album, which had ironically been titled Mrityunjay, Victory Over Death.
I don't know. I see. I mean, there's no point guessing such things. Yeah.
It's
What?
Agni.
Agni. Oh.
So
I didn't know
Agni,
that. Oh my God.
When
They've
they
been through a
were
lot.
about to record their second album, Mrityunjay, two of their members lost their lives.
Oh my God.
And that's
That's
why now
hard.
there are
That's
only two main
the
members.
whole band. I can tell, something like that happening to a band because I had a band, and you get too attached to your members. They mean more to you than your friends and your family or your pets or whatever. So there would have been very, the whole band would have been down in the dumps, in the doldrums for too long. But it's very hard for a band to get over.
But they're doing really good right now. So yeah.
Yeah, like Allman Brothers or Lynyrd Skynyrd, I don't know, but one of these southern bands, they had something that happened to one of their members, and the other members, or at least one or two of them, I really suck at being precise about these things, so I'm sorry, but they just died because of the devastation that it caused. They just died because they could not handle the other member's death. I think the other member died in an accident. So yeah, it's very commendable that they could, because even after that, I listened to Agni. They've made so many hits, and they seem to be doing fine. So it's very appreciable that how well they could come out of it and still bloom into something this amazing that they are. Yeah.
Okay. So another one. This Indian band was started in 1990s by Sushmit Sen, The aim of this band was to introduce an unheard of classically influenced rock music in India.
Classically influenced rock music. Oh, there's so many of them. I don't know that.
I think you know about them.
Is it Indian Ocean?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I thought so, but I still did not want to just throw names around. Yeah.
Sushmit Sen is the one who started.
Yeah. See, like I told you, and it's not that I don't like them or anything, but there's just so much. And I'm not one of those guys when it comes to music who just explore things just for the heck of it, just to know more. Like, I would want to spend time. I would literally want to fan over a band, and I'd want to cover the songs and all of those things before I move on to the other one,
Okay.
So that's why I don't know these many bands,
Okay.
So
another one. This is a band from outside India. Believed to have connections with Illuminati. This band was banned in USSR, that is Russia, and hence its music was sold there by being etched on X-ray.
It's a Russian band?
No, it's not Russian.
Okay.
Etched on X-ray films, leading to fans calling its music as music on the bones or record on the ribs. And this, my friend, you should be knowing.
Can you repeat the question?
The band was believed to have connections with Illuminati, and that is why this band was banned in USSR, right? And hence, its music was sold there by being etched on X-ray films, leading to fans calling its music as music on the bones or record on the ribs.
Oh shit!
It is one of the top three
bands
of rock music.
Okay. Oh my god. Do you have a rag or whatever that I can cover my face with and walk around with that on for the rest of my life? Will also help me with this corona situation, I guess. I don't know that. Shame on me.
Take a guess.
Make me sound so dumb.
Among the top three, who do you think?
See, that's kind of subjective too by now, because are they old? What era are they from? Do you know that?
They're very old. They've been here since decades.
Black Sabbath? Because you mentioned those scary things.
If I'm gonna say the name, you're gonna be jumping out of this.
Yeah. Wait. Fuck. I don't know, man.
The Beatles.
The Beatles. Oh my god! I did not know they had such scary things going on.
It was thought of that they had connections with Illuminati, but
it was a hoax, I guess.
Yeah, it was a hoax.
Yeah, there's nothing so
But yeah,
eerie
there's a story about the Beatles.
Them, yeah.
Their music was banned in USSR.
I know that they made a lot of controversial statements, they're better than Jesus and all of those things, and so maybe people had developed biases about them, and then these things were getting overblown out of proportion because they were just, I don't know, but they were just very fixated on beating them down. Either they were jealous of them, or their ideas sort of clashed with
each other.
Yeah. I don't know. Could be that, but I could totally be wrong. Yeah.
Cool. Now, again, another band which is not from India.
Okay.
Not to get political, but this band was banned in China because one of its musicians wished happy birthday to Dalai Lama on Twitter. When it started, this band also had very funny names like Kara's Flowers.
Wait, before that, what's wrong with wishing Dalai Lama happy birthday that you have to?
I don't know, but then this happened.
I don't think our Prime Minister would look forward to these things. Any Prime Minister, any person.
Any person, why would?
Yeah. But especially our Prime Minister would look forward for someone to hyperbolize him. Anyway, let's not get into, like you said, let's not get very political about it. Yeah. So, I don't know, and I don't think it's a good idea to again play the
destitute
games.
Something you had in your coffee.
Sugar. Honey, honey is
But the same title, another band.
Sugar. So all right, Sugar is one of the songs, or okay. Pour some sugar on me. Def Leppard? No. Then Sugar. All right. Sugar, spices, and everything nice. Powerpuff Girls. Sorry.
They're very famous for crashing weddings.
Crashing weddings. Oh my God.
That's what the song was about. Sugar. Maroon 5.
Oh, I don't listen to them.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's why. I'm not much into this alternative pop or like indie bands or whatever.
Okay.
Adam Levine, right? He's the lead singer.
Adam Levine.
Yeah. The guitar player is amazing. I'm not a big fan of Adam Levine, but the guitar player is amazing. I guess he's in the wrong band. Anyway,
Can't say it.
Yeah, you seem to be someone who dig them.
Now, last one. This Indian band was formed by a medical professional in 1988 in Delhi, and they are considered till now to be one of the highest selling bands of India. They were also inducted into Hall of Fame in 2012 by the Indian Recording Arts of Academy at the Palm Expo in Mumbai.
Oh.
It started by a medical professional.
Medical professional. Oh my God.
Like the person who started as a doctor.
Getting so shit-faced right now. I hate you for this.
But there's a Hindi rock band. So they started with the English thing, but they then figured out that Hindi rock is what they want to do.
Hindi rock, I know. Euphoria. Is that the one? Yeah.
Euphoria.
No, but not that I knew that fact. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
Euphoria.
So it started by Dr. Palash Sen. So that's all the questions that I have had.
That I've absolutely reeked at.
That's okay. But
I need to
I'm sure then you're gonna go back
my
today
general
and probably
knowledge.
learn a lot of theory.
Oh yes, yeah. So next time I don't fuck up. Like I said, I accept. I'm very bad at this.
Yeah. Perfect, Neel. I had a great time, and probably everyone who's gonna watch this is probably
I hope so.
gonna have a good time. So thank you.
All the rockers are going to throw eggs on the screens at the part where I absolutely
It's their own
reeked at.
screen. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's okay. Screw you. It's your loss if you're too dumb to not realize that.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway.
Chalo, thank you so much. Have a nice day, man.
You too, man. Thanks for having me. This was
Anytime, man.
This was amazing.
Thank you.
Beyond words. All right.
And keep watching A Night Before.
Yeah, please do.